Technology is an enabler, revolutionizing the way in which we do business, enabling us to get to market more quickly, and in often cases, reducing the cost to deliver a product or a service. I'm honored today to have in studio Heath Huxtable. Heath, thank you very much for joining us. Heath is the managing director of Braintree. Braintree is part of the Vox Group and the Vivica Group. And we're thrilled to have you in the studio today because really importantly, we want to talk about how you can enable technology to deliver more rapidly. So Heath, thank you very much for joining us at TechCentral today.
Thank you very much. It's awesome to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. And to the point about deploying technology, we all understand that there's on-prem, off-prem, cloud, private, public. There are many ways of looking at how you position your service structure and your technology and how you deliver the services you deliver using technology. But what you've discovered through trial and error and through many different iterations of what's become a very successful go-to-market strategy is actually this rapid deployment. Please talk a bit about that rapid deployment you so often refer to.
So I think the biggest thing for us, and maybe just a little bit of go back a little bit in time, is that so I've been in the industry for a fairly lengthy period of time. I've seen the advent of server-based computing, where essentially a lot of organizations kind of invested huge sums of money in their on-prem servers in their own file server rooms. A lot of those in the big organizations, those were outsourced server rooms. So they used to have organizations coming in and basically helping do and manage those environments. And from there on out, we kind of started seeing a gradual shift, and that shift out into outsourced computing, basically off-prem, externally managed data centers. Started out with private data centers, so that was where you would take your own tin, potentially put it into somebody else's data center, get somebody else to manage it. So you know that you've got you've got power, you've got backup, you've got engineers on site that can help you with connectivity. You've got all of that, that probably took off quite extensively from about 2006 onwards.
Okay.
When I started, we did talk about the Vox Group. So Vox for me was actually a customer of mine.
Okay.
When I I started realizing this move into cloud and into what was then private cloud, Vox had their own data center. And I thought to myself, this is an absolutely awesome opportunity for us to be able to kind of leverage this general move from on-prem into some sort of managed infrastructure, and I wanted to be able to use the Vox data center. So I approached Vox in the kind of the early at about I think 2012, 2013, and decided just have a discussion around would they be interested in a joint venture with me. I decided they decided that was a great opportunity because they never really got into the business application space. Yep. So I started the conversation. Took us about 2 years to kind of get down to the point where we agreed on Vox actually acquiring my company in whole. As it turned out, that happened 2014, I think, or 2014. As it turned out, 2014, we started seeing the switch from private cloud into public cloud.
Okay.
And I realized at that point in time that we are absolutely perfectly positioned to be able to kind of take advantage of, migrating organizations off their on-prem environments into either a private data center or into this public cloud space. And the public cloud space for us was always going to be a challenge, specifically South Africans. South Africans are I think if you want to kind of box us into personality traits, we're all control freaks. Okay. So essentially what happens is that you've got organizations that really do not want to lose control of the tin, of the operating systems, of the software, of anything that's on there. So that was why private data centers were particularly good and super successful in South Africa.
And my guess is the question is always which is best.
Yes, exactly. So we never really had issues with a private, a discussion with a customer around a private data center. Okay, when public cloud came about, you suddenly realize that now you're putting it into something that's, at that point in time, data centers were sitting all over. You can choose where your data center is. It can be in East, in West Europe, in the US. It can be recently now in South Africa. Well, not recently, but 3-4 years ago in South Africa. You choose where you want your data, but you never have access to the tin. You don't. It's a service that you subscribe to. And what we realized was that there was a massive hesitation for organizations to be able to adopt this public cloud offering. And it was because of this lack of control. It's just like, I just don't feel like I have access to my data, I don't have access to the infrastructure, I don't have access to you still fundamentally you manage the environment, or you can still manage the environment, but it's not your, physically it's not yours. So we got to thinking about how do we entice organizations into kind of adopting this public cloud environment, because the benefit of public cloud is it's elastic, it's completely elastic, so it grows with your business, it shrinks with your business.
And I very much want to talk to you about exactly that, how to scale.
So what we realized was we needed to kind of start breaking through some barriers with organizations.
Solving for what, though? Because I understand the technology piece, and I understand the off-prem, on-prem conversation, but I sort of given away by talking about this rapid server deployment. That is because you're trying to solve for speed.
Solve speed, solve agility, obviously competitive advantage.
Okay. First mover.
100%. So when you talk about public cloud, we're not talking about ostensibly you're still talking about a server, servers in a rack, and there's operating systems on there, there's applications on there, but there's a host of other services that are made available on a SaaS environment, okay, or a platform as a service environment. Things like AI. Okay,
yep.
Things like VR, okay,
and the capacity to process that.
Things like big data. How do you start analyzing? Organizations spend inordinate amounts of money with the systems that they put in place. They collect vast sums of data, but most people don't really know what the value of that data is because they haven't been able to kind of mine it. Now, with the services that are available in public cloud offerings, okay, is that you can start unpacking a lot of the value of that data. You can start, extrapolating it. You can start mining it. You can start forecasting it. You can start doing some really meaningful information.
Deep analytics.
Yeah. And so it's not just about moving a piece of tin out of your data center into public cloud. There's unlocking value
so tell us. So what exactly are you proposing?
What we're doing is we're getting the customer into the concept of being able to move from on-prem into a public cloud environment, so we can start unlocking all this additional value.
Again, what does that look like? Is that a consultative service?
It's all consulting services.
Okay. So you allay my fears and make sure that my staff can carry on without much interruption.
100%.
Okay.
And again, there I think that the biggest impediment to this public cloud move is the fear of the unknown. Yeah. And what we as an organization try and do is actually just, as you say, is just like literally try and kind of break down the barriers, unlock the concept of that future potential, okay, and then give organizations the confidence, and actually the people that used to be managing these organizations on-prem. A future path, a growth path, okay, to be able to unlock their own personal growth, and expand on something they ordinarily wouldn't have had access to,
and to consume or use those products as quickly as possible in order for those services to be available.
Absolutely,
for the delivery of business as usual.
So everybody today talks about return on investment, and the shorter you can kind of you can narrow that return on investment, in terms of period, the better it is. So ultimately for us is that if we can do it as quickly as possible with as least risk as possible, that's a huge benefit for us, and it's a huge opportunity for us, and it's a huge benefit and opportunity for customers that are going to be moving.
And while we're on that point of return on investment, I'd made some notes about redeploying and reinvesting existing hardware, software, and actually being able to scale it quite quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe taking a part of your business to begin with.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about what you might do there?
So you actually started out the conversation by talking about different types of cloud.
Yes.
Okay. So this, the concept of you've got your own data center on premise, you've got private cloud, you've got public cloud. There's no one choice. So an organization doesn't have to choose Azure or AWS. They don't have to choose a private data center. They can choose a hybrid of it. So we've got the concept of a hybrid cloud. Which is basically, I can have my services in two different areas. I can have a multi-cloud, which basically says, I know that AWS might be particularly good in a particular area, whereas Azure might be better in a certain area. I might have certain services in AWS, certain services in Azure, certain services in the private data center. I might have something basically on-prem, okay? We, as an organization, kind of make sure that is seamless, that interface is seamless. So what we're always saying to organizations is that if you're in a space where you have invested huge amounts of money on on-prem server environments, your operating systems, your databases, your applications, and you're getting to the point now, there's a 3 to 5 year investment recycle on equipment, is when you get into the point where you're at that decision of, do I go and reinvest in all of this? Do I go and repurchase the software? Because software licenses aren't cheap if you go and do outright purchases. It's at that point in time that you should be reaching out to an organization that says, is there something that I can take there out of that environment and put it into a public cloud?
Okay, and what a practical example would that be in a big enterprise?
So it could be your HR system, it could be your business application, your ERP system, it could be your customer relationship management system, it could be things like your access control system. I mean, there's so many different facets of an organization with systems that make organizations work, and there's nothing that says I have to take everything and move it off. Okay. The beauty of kind of what we do, and that's actually really, I suppose, the value of consulting, is to be able to choose the work, and they reference it as a workload. So a workload might be payroll. Okay. And I might be able to take payroll and just move payroll off and put it into a private data center or into a public cloud, and it can be any public cloud. Okay.
So let's say I'm risk adverse. But I choose to do that.
Yeah.
The measures that you put in place to prove to me that it was a worthwhile decision. Yeah. What do those look like, and how are those typically received by the end user?
So you're talking specifically around
let's just use HR as an example.
Yeah. So
are they comfortable?
So one is the ability to be able to kind of identify what that solution is to architect the solution, okay, in a way that it makes sense, and then to be able to kind of trial it. So we don't do anything. There's no on and off switch. I mean,
okay, thank you.
So there's a demo or test environment that we would set up. We would actually would present it to the customer, have a look and see what they think about it, and from there, make the choice as to whether we actually push us into production or not. So it's about risk mitigation. We do not do anything. We understand that applications can potentially make businesses fail. Okay. So if you get it wrong, okay, the risks can be massive. I mean, there are many organizations that go through business application replacements, and they find themselves, 6-7 months down the road, and they're unable to produce a set of accounts. And there might be listed operations, and those listed operations are required, by legislation to be able to report in certain timeframes.
If you can't backpedal,
if you can't deliver based on those criteria, I mean, you can put businesses at risk. So for us, it's about risk mitigation. It's about making sure that we make the customer feel that they actually are in control, actually.
And going back to the need of the customer, agility, speed to market, and you've mentioned quicker return on investment. The wrapper service deployment.
Yes.
You've got some fascinating user cases and some stories where you don't physically go and spend time in anyone's offices. You don't physically spend time in a cloud or server environment. You actually do it remotely.
100%.
Talk us through that, please.
So COVID taught us, and because we are principally a consulting organization, we have a lot of very smart people that work with us and work for us. And what we found was at the advent of COVID, suddenly organizations basically said we need to put a freeze on projects. We don't know where this is going. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know what the impact on the business is going to be. So a lot of projects were put on hold. And what we did was we took that opportunity to have these very smart people for us help us build deployment tools. And those deployment tools is basically an ability for us to be able to go to an organization, and instead of going in an on-prem environment, so a traditional consulting model was we would go and send a team of consultants, and we'd go and sit on the customer site from start to finish, and we'd be there for however long the project lasted. Post-COVID, and after us having developed our rapid deployment tools, we have done pretty much, I'd say probably 95% of all our implementations are actually remote.
Okay.
And we've done implementations in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Zimbabwe. We're busy in Zimbabwe now. We're going to be in Kenya very soon.
Fascinating.
South Africa, all our South African customers are all remote. I mean, so some of them are sitting in Qubertha. It's just for us, it's an opportunity to be able to kind of rapidly consult, okay, but from the comfort of your home. And we've actually done that. We've actually gone to that stage as well, where we've kind of a hybrid work environment. So we don't force people into the offices. We've got people that do actually work from home and actually prefer to work from home. They've got better productivity there. We use our rapid development tools basically to kind of obviate the need for us to be able to physically be on premise.
Brilliant. Okay. And I think one of the terms you used the other day was speed is our lifeblood.
So I'll give you an example of that. So one of the aviation companies that we won some work on about 12 months ago. We did a proposal for them, and we ended up at the end of it all with what we would have classified as a traditional consulting model. This was a traditional consult, and we spent I think we quoted them about 1.6 million rands worth of consulting fees. Okay, not a massively big project, but it was a nice project for us.
It's a decision that needs to be made.
And a decision needed to be made, and the company came back to us and said, look, aviation is not in the space that it was kind of 5, 6, 7 years ago. We're also kind of tight, we're cashed up. We need to kind of make this thing lean. So we decided to actually use our own tools and kind of, and put it to test. And we reduced that implementation from 1.6 million rand down to 300,000 rand. Okay. Oh. And that was just because they've got tools, we automated tools. We've got we passed a lot of the workload onto the customer. So that and whereas traditionally we would have done a lot of that, data cleansing, data preparation, extraction, importing, sign off, all that stuff. Because we had the tool, we could actually offload a lot of the workload to the customer, who actually had the capacity to do that, reduce cost, reduce the time frame. Suddenly you have a deployment team that's so much bigger than we would have been with a consulting team, and it's inclusive.
And interesting, you use the word inclusive. I was about to say it involves the end user.
Yes.
Therefore, the end user doesn't feel the change and the pressure of that change as much as they might if it was forced on them.
I can tell you stories of instances where we've gone through an analysis. We've gone through, you go through the traditional kind of waterfall approach. You go through analysis and design and implementation, customization, implementation, training. And by the time you sit in front of the end user and you say, okay, we're going to be training. And the employee looks at this and says, but this isn't how my business works, okay? Yeah. Because everybody else made decisions, but they didn't get down to the nuts and bolts of kind of the people that actually physically do the work to see, how it is that they get to do anything on a day-to-day basis. So by inclusiveness, okay, in these processes, we actually get a way better adoption rate is higher, the acceptance rate is higher, the change control is better. Change management is just a better way of working.
And what I understand is that typically when one's looking for, let's just say I'm looking for cloud services, I look at a menu option and I go, yes, tick, tick, tick. And I realize once I've draw a line under all of my options, there's a large cost associated with that. How do I use a little backpedal? But how do I define what I want to turn on when? And let's use retail as an example. Retail is quite a cyclical business, and we have highs and lows. How do you manage that expectation of the customer?
So some of the biggest challenges we face in actually getting cloud adoption, okay, is the lack of control, the perceived lack of control, okay, and what we classify as bull shock. So, and bull shock is, I had in my mind a cost that I was going to be that I had, and by the time I go through the first or second month, I suddenly have this ramp up cost. And how do I get that under control? So one of the things that we are particularly good at, and it's part of the value proposition that we as an organization offer is that we are intricately involved in the architecture. So yes, these are all switches on and off, and every time you switch something on, it has an implication in cost. Okay, and most people, or a lot of people, do not understand the difference in I can choose 5 different virtual machines. Okay, each of those virtual machines have different capabilities, and they all have different prices. Sure. Do I go for the absolutely highest one because it's got a funny number, okay, and not really understand the implication of that cost? Yeah. Okay, so for us, architecture is important, and what we also do is we advise customers on best deployment methods. So in other words, choose the right product for the right solution. Okay, and again, there, so one of our retailers came at the beginning of December and said, look, we expect in December to be quite a busy month. It's all going to be pretty much online. We need to make sure that our website is actually up and running all the time. Okay, so it was actually a website we developed for them. Okay. So we kind of knew what the workload looked like, and it was just a simple process of just adjusting how much resources you allocate in that period. And it was the period from about the 23rd of December to about the 2nd or 3rd of January. Okay, ramp it up in that space. You make sure everything is fine, and then after the 3rd of January, we just start pulling things down again. So you only pay for what you consume. Amazing. And that's what that to me is the value of what we do. I'm going to give you another example. So please, just take Office 365. Yep. Okay. So we are winning customers in Office 365 because we're not just about a license sale. Yes, vendors would want us to sell as many licenses as we can, but the problem that you've got is that is the customer using the software for the right purpose? There are different versions of Office 365, or let's call it Microsoft 365. What we go and when we take on a new customer is we go and do an audit, and we have a look and see, is the software required? Are you getting best value for the money that you pay? So we go and we do this analysis, understand exactly what it is that the customer requires, and we right-size them. Okay, and right-sizing is not only just about the total quantity; it's about the proper SKU that you're being used for the solution.
So it sounds like there's a bespoke solution for every example, and you've said it before. There's no one size fits all, and you got to choose the right product in the right size at the right time in the right way. And I think that's a lovely and quite a unique selling proposition, because it makes me feel comfortable that I haven't overcapitalized on something, and I can, as you say, dial it down, dial it up when required. And what guidance?
That's so beautiful to be able to do that.
And do you hold my hand in that process until
we do that? We actually do that. So another very good example is that so we get an organization that comes in and says, look, we're on an employment drive. We're adding people. Okay, and with every new person, I need a new PC, I need a new Microsoft Office license, I need connectivity, I need all sorts of stuff. What we do is that when the customer comes and says, I need to go and add 5 new licenses, we say to them, okay, let's do an audit, let's have a look and see what you're doing. Because a lot of people buy licenses, but they don't consume those licenses. Okay. So what we do is we make sure that those 5 licenses, there may be 3 available licenses. We say, well, you've got 3 that are currently unused. We're going to give it 3. We only buy 2. So we help you kind of manage that bull shock.
Okay, brilliant, and reduce waste.
Waste in every respect.
Yeah. Heath Huxtable, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you very, very much. I made a number of notes here, and one of the things I keep seeing is that yes, there's rapid server development and delivery. But actually, it's about revolutionizing businesses. It's about identifying ways of facilitating that growth. And really importantly, delivering that competitive advantage. And the competitive advantage is very often being looked for by your customers and by people who are potential customers for you, is that speed to market. So thank you very, very much for emphasizing the importance of speed to market. I know that we started talking about technology as being an enabler, and it absolutely is. The technology and the definition between the different technologies is often meeting the requirement of the business now and tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks very much for joining us. I'm James Erasmus at TechCentral, and thank you very, very much for listening. We very much look forward to further conversations with Braintree and Heath Huxtable.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.